A Church Divided, exploring the legacy of racism in Mormonism. The Mormon Church, officially known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, presents itself as a beacon of faith and family values. But behind its pristine image lies a dark history, one marred by a legacy of racial discrimination. For over a century, the Church barred Black members from its highest rituals and leadership roles. This wasn't just a difference of opinion. It was a system of exclusion deeply ingrained in Mormon teachings. This essay delves into this troubling chapter of the Mormon Church's past, examining the origins of its racist policies and their devastating impact. We'll hear the voices of those who were marginalized and those who fought for change. Get ready to explore a story of faith and hypocrisy, of progress and persistent prejudice. This isn't just about the Mormon Church. It's about confronting the uncomfortable truths that reside within many institutions, even those claiming moral authority. The Mormon Church's journey towards racial equality has been long and arduous, marked by both resistance and reluctant steps forward. It's a journey that continues to this day, as the Church grapples with the consequences of its past and strives to create a more inclusive future. Brigham Young's Shadow, the genesis of the racial ban. The story of racial discrimination in the Mormon Church begins with its second prophet and president, Brigham Young. A man of immense influence, Young's decisions and doctrines have left an indelible mark on the Church's history. A towering figure in Mormon history, Young led the Latter-day Saints to Utah and shaped the Church's doctrine and practice. His leadership was pivotal during the Church's formative years, guiding the community through numerous challenges. However, Young was also a man of his time, steeped in the racist ideologies of 19th century America. These prevailing attitudes influenced his views and, subsequently, the policies he implemented within the Church. In 1852, he instituted a policy barring Black men from the priesthood, the Church's all-male clergy. This decision was a significant departure from the Church's earlier, more inclusive practices. This ban extended to temple ordinances, including eternal marriage, considered essential for the highest degree of salvation in Mormon belief. The exclusion from these sacred rites had profound spiritual and social implications for Black members. Young's justification for this exclusionary policy was rooted in racist interpretations of Scripture and folklore. He drew upon these sources to rationalize the marginalization of Black individuals within the Church. He claimed that Black people were descended from Cain, a biblical figure cursed by God. This narrative was used to explain and perpetuate the racial hierarchy within the Church. This curse, according to Young, manifested itself in their skin color and barred them from the full blessings of the gospel. Such beliefs were deeply ingrained and difficult to challenge. Young's pronouncements cast a long shadow over the Mormon Church, cementing the racial ban as a core tenet of faith for over a century. His influence ensured that these discriminatory practices persisted long after his death. His words, imbued with the authority of prophetic revelation, carried immense weight among his followers. The faithful adhered to his teachings, believing them to be divinely inspired. The ban wasn't merely a theological abstraction, it had tangible and devastating consequences for Black Mormons. They faced systemic exclusion and were often isolated within their own religious community. They were relegated to second-class status within the Church, denied opportunities for spiritual advancement and leadership. This marginalization affected their lives in profound and lasting ways. This legacy of exclusion would continue to haunt the Church for generations, even as the winds of change began to blow through American society. The struggle for equality and recognition within the Church would be a long and arduous journey. A chorus of prejudice. Racist teachings echo through Mormon history. Brigham Young's pronouncements on race were not isolated incidents, but rather set the stage for a chorus of prejudice that echoed through Mormon leadership for decades. His teachings were deeply ingrained in the fabric of the church. Subsequent church presidents and apostles reiterated and reinforced the ban, often framing it as divinely mandated and immutable. This created a rigid structure that was difficult to challenge. John Taylor, Young's successor, linked dark skin to the devil, further demonizing black people within Mormon theology. His words added a layer of spiritual condemnation. Harold B. Lee, another church president, suggested that black people's status was a consequence of their pre-mortal unfaithfulness, implying they were less valiant in their commitment to God. This belief system created a hierarchy of worthiness. Mark E. Peterson, a prominent apostle, was particularly outspoken in his defense of segregation. He argued that racial mixing was a grave sin and that even faithful black people would be relegated to subservient roles in the afterlife. His views were extreme, even for his time. His words, laced with bigotry and disdain, reflected the deep-seated prejudice that pervaded Mormon teachings. Ezra Taft Benson, another apostle who later served as U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, went so far as to link the civil rights movement to communist conspiracies. His rhetoric revealed the extent to which racist ideologies had become intertwined with the church's worldview. This was not just a religious stance, but a political one as well. These pronouncements, coming from the highest echelons of Mormon leadership, cemented the racial ban as an unassailable truth for generations of Latter-day Saints. Black members were left to grapple with the devastating implications of these teachings, their faith constantly tested by the church's rejection. The emotional and spiritual toll was immense, leaving many to question their place within the faith. Section 4. The Winds of Change. Civil Rights and the Pressure for Inclusion. As the 20th century progressed, the Mormon Church found itself increasingly at odds with the changing social landscape. The civil rights movement, gaining momentum across the United States, challenged the morality of segregation and racial discrimination. The church's stance on race attracted growing scrutiny and criticism. BYU, the church-owned university, faced boycotts of its athletic teams due to the ban on black players. The NAACP condemned the church's discriminatory policies, highlighting the hypocrisy of an institution that preached love and brotherhood, while denying basic rights to its black members. The church's tax-exempt status also came under fire. The IRS's decision to revoke tax exemptions for Bob Jones University, a Christian institution that prohibited interracial dating, sent shockwaves through Mormon leadership. The financial implications of losing tax-exempt status were significant, forcing the church to confront the possibility of legal and economic repercussions for its discriminatory practices. The pressure on the church to change was mounting. Internal dissent began to emerge, as some members questioned the morality and doctrinal foundation of the racial ban. The world was changing, and the Mormon Church, once seemingly impervious to outside influence, could no longer ignore the winds of change sweeping through society. Section 5. Cracks in the Facade. Internal Dissent and the Fight for Equality. Despite the prevailing climate of prejudice, voices of dissent began to emerge within the Mormon Church, challenging the validity and morality of the racial ban. These individuals, often at great personal risk, stood up against the established norms, chipping away at the facade of unanimity surrounding the church's racist policies. Lowell Bennion, a prominent Mormon educator and social activist, questioned the theological underpinnings of the ban, arguing that it contradicted the church's own teachings on human dignity and God's love for all his children. His critiques, though initially dismissed by many, planted seeds of doubt within the minds of some members. Hugh B. Brown, a former apostle and counselor in the First Presidency, emerged as a powerful advocate for change. He argued that the racial ban was a policy, not a doctrine, and therefore subject to change through revelation. Brown's willingness to publicly challenge the status quo, even at the risk of his own standing within the church, gave hope to those yearning for equality. His speeches and writings inspired many to question long-held beliefs. Lester Bush, a Mormon historian, unearthed historical documents that challenged the church's narrative surrounding the racial ban. His meticulous research revealed that Joseph Smith, the church's founder, had ordained black men to the priesthood during his lifetime. These findings, while initially suppressed by church leaders, sparked intense discussions and debates, further undermined the legitimacy of the ban, and provided ammunition for those advocating for change. These internal dissenters, though often marginalized and silenced, played a crucial role in shifting the tide within the Mormon Church. Their courage and unwavering commitment to justice, despite facing significant opposition, paved the way for the eventual dismantling of the racial ban. Their legacy is a testament to the power of individual conviction and collective action in the face of systemic injustice. The fight for equality within the Mormon Church serves as a powerful reminder that change is possible, even in the most entrenched institutions.